This video is provocatively titled, How to Get a Fantastic Wife, like mine, or a girlfriend, even if you're average or below average looking. But I could have just as easily called this, How to Talk to Strangers, or How to Start and Continue Conversations with Strangers. The skill is the same. Not just for finding an awesome wife or a girlfriend, it's an essential skill for business success, or any kind of success in life. Because success in life is really about salesmanship and how you market yourself. Even if you're not in a sales job, you're selling yourself. And you must sell yourself to land a good job. You must also sell yourself to find a great wife or girlfriend. The most important rule in sales is people buy from those they know, like, and trust. I'm in the advertising business, and all of my businesses come in from personal relationships. Business doesn't just come in by itself. You have to bring in the business. The way you bring in business is by developing personal relationships. And you can't do this without knowing how to start conversations with strangers, and then keep the conversation going. And there's a technique to it. It's a technique anyone can master. With this in mind, I first want to show you what not to do by taking a look at advice from one of the top dating advice gurus on the internet for men. He calls himself Coach Kyle.
How to approach any girl during the daytime. You're walking around, going about your day, and you see that hot girl.
He teaches guys how to meet women. Here he teaches us how to meet an attractive woman you might see walking down the street in daytime. Let's watch.
So you can get her attention by going in from a safe distance while smiling, with a confident voice, downward pitched tonality, and you could say something like, "Hey, excuse me." So some easy lines I recommend you guys start trying out are, "Hey, excuse me. I just saw you walking by and I really liked your look. I wanted to come say hi." Or, "Hey, excuse me. I literally just saw you walking and you caught my eye and I wanted to come meet you really quick." Or, "Hey, excuse me. I just saw you walking by and I thought you looked really cute. I wanted to come over and say hi. How's your day going?"
Now I notice that Coach Kyle is doing all of his videos and demonstrations with his girlfriend or his wife. Is this really how he met this woman? Really? I suspect not. At best, Coach Kyle's strategy here is very low percentage. If you do this enough time, it will work at some level. Sales is a numbers game. So if you do this 100 times or 1,000 times, you will get some takers. But of the few who take you up on this offer, are these really the women you want to be with? If I mail a sales letter to everybody in America, at a cost of about 60 or 70 cents a piece, trying to persuade them to buy a Nordic track, I will sell some Nordic tracks. But I'll go bankrupt in the process. What you want to be doing is selling to people who are actually looking to buy a Nordic track, or at least a treadmill. The same with trying to find a girlfriend. You want to fish where the fish are. You want to fish where the single women are. This is just a basic marketing principle. Coach Kyle's approach is wrong on so many levels. Now, given that I'm 66 years old, and I've been married to Wanda since 2006, you might be wondering why I'm even addressing this topic of dating and how to find the right woman. Well, because finding the right woman is the single most important decision you will make in life. Because if you make the wrong decision, you will end up bankrupt, and you will very likely end up homeless, or in jail, like I did. And you can hear that amazing story in a video I've linked to below. And by the way, many of the comments in the video about my horrific divorce say that the lesson for men is that they will never get married. They say it's too high risk. I don't believe that. The Bible tells us that it's not good for a man to be alone. So God gave Adam Eve. So yeah, that did cause some problems for Adam, for sure. But it's not good for a man to be alone. We are hardwired to want a mate. I miss Wanda when she's not around. The challenge is to find the right woman. And I'm going to do quite a few videos on this topic, how to find the right woman, and how to avoid the wrong woman. Also, a lot of people are asking in the comments, how do they find a woman like Wanda? In addition, I'm in the advertising and marketing business. The science of finding the right girlfriend or wife is no different from any other sales or marketing challenge. 1. Selling hamburgers to a hungry crowd. 2. Product to market match. 3. Fishing where the fish are. 4. Differentiating yourself from the competition. 5. The offer. 6. Packaging. And 7. Establishing some kind of a relationship. Because people buy from those they know, like, and trust. So finding the right woman is no different from any other sales or marketing challenge. And you can just take the principles in this video and apply them to any sales or marketing challenge. Okay, so let's look again at Coach Kyle's strategy. Coach Kyle does get a couple of things right here. Packaging is okay. He looks good. He's in good shape. Has a haircut. Doesn't look like a homeless person. I'm assuming his hygiene is okay. Doesn't smell bad, have bad breath, or anything like that. So packaging is okay. That's important. He is wearing kind of a grungy looking t-shirt, which isn't great. I assume he's doing that to show off his physique. Wanda likes it when I put on a sharp-looking suit, a pressed shirt, and necktie. I don't wear suits or a jacket and tie much anymore, but that's what she likes. She likes it when I dress up and look sharp. I think most women like that. And at least Coach Kyle is making an attempt to meet a woman he's interested in. So that's infinitely better than those who make no attempt to approach a woman that they're interested in because they fear rejection or looking foolish. Any attempt is infinitely better than no attempt. When I was in high school, there was a stunning-looking girl that all the guys were salivating over. I suspect she was literally the best-looking girl in the eastern United States. Later in life, after she was divorced, she asked me why I never asked her out. Well, because I thought she was way out of my league. The only way to win a game is to play the game. You can't win if you don't play, if you don't actually step into the arena. And when you step into the arena, yeah, you're going to get your ass handed to you sometimes. I mean, there are no better mockers than high school girls, right? High school girls are world-class at mocking people. So yeah, if you're a boy in high school, asking a really good-looking girl out, that's a pretty high-risk event. You imagine her saying in the most mocking tone possible, "What? You want to go out with me on a date?" You then imagine her bursting out with laughter. Then you imagine her turning to her 3 female friends. "This guy wants to go out with me on a date." Then all 3 of them burst out in hysterical laughter. So yes, that can happen in high school. But you have to learn not to worry about that possibility. The most successful salespeople in the world are those who start the most conversations with strangers. They're also the ones that experience the most rejection. So Coach Kyle does not fear rejection, and that's good. And it is good practice to try to strike up conversations with strangers on the street, or at an airport, or anywhere. In fact, I recommend that. Though I would use a very different approach and very different lines than what Coach Kyle is recommending here.
Hey, excuse me. I just saw you walking by and I thought you looked really cute. I wanted to come over and say hi. How's your day going?
Set aside the fact that he's doing this demonstration with his wife or his girlfriend, not a real stranger. His point is you need to make the attempt and not fear rejection. And that actually happens to be my main superpower. I have no fear whatsoever of rejection or embarrassment. Now, I used to in high school, but I learned to get over it. I literally cannot be embarrassed. For example, when I started breakdancing at the age of 54 as a way to get in shape, I attended a pro breaking event in Washington, D.C. as a spectator. My friend, as a joke, entered me in the competition. I'd only had maybe 2 breakdancing lessons by that point. Did I back out? Heck no. I went along with the joke and competed. Here's how that went.
I think this is about to be an epic battle right here.
I'm immune to embarrassment. When I was in my 20s, my single days, my friends and I would go out to bars and have a contest to see who could collect the most phone numbers from women by the end of the night. Yes, it was a very juvenile game, but it was great practice for learning how to start conversations with strangers. The best opening line is always, "Hi, my name is Ben, what's your name?" And extend your hand to shake hands while you're doing this. Then wait and see what happens. Look friendly, non-threatening, casual. I've always worn glasses, not contacts. This makes me look kind of nerdy, like an accountant, not threatening at all. And this look puts women at ease. And I always ended up with the most phone numbers at the end of the night, even though my 2 buddies I was doing this with were way better looking. The first problem with Coach Kyle's approach is that attractive women have heard lines like this from guys thousands of times. When Wanda and I were dating and going to nightclubs, guys who looked like Brad Pitt were throwing themselves at Wanda about every 30 seconds. Many were asking how I was able to end up with her. And many were asking why Wanda chose me. Someone who basically looked like Woody Allen when I had hair. Now I look like Woody Allen without hair. If you were a good-looking woman, you were hearing Coach Kyle-type lines all day long. If Wanda is out shopping by herself even today, she continues to be interrupted by Coach Kyle-type guys, trying to start a conversation with these exact same lines that Coach Kyle is using. These guys even jump into her path so she has to change course just to avoid them. The other problem with the Coach Kyle approach is if you use these lines, the first words out of your mouth telegraph how shallow you are. His opening line is about her appearance, and how attractive she is, how gorgeous she is, how cute she is.
Hey, excuse me. I literally just saw you walking and you caught my eye and I wanted to come meet you really quick. Or, hey, excuse me. I just saw you walking by and I thought you looked really cute. I wanted to come over and say hi. How's your day going?
With these lines, you were telling her you were fishing for sex or for a girlfriend. You were essentially asking a stranger for a commitment of some kind. before she even knows you and has had a chance to assess you. You're interrupting what she's doing, which is walking down the street, and you're asking her to make a commitment. You're asking her to spend time with you. Remember, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. You need to establish some kind of rapport, some kind of relationship first. You need to give the woman a chance to see if she likes you. Coach Kyle's approach of just walking up to random attractive women on the street and telling them how beautiful they are is highly unlikely to be effective. If you want to catch fish, you need to go to where the fish are. If I were a single guy looking to meet a woman, I would go to a salsa dance class, a hip-hop dance class, a ballroom dance class, or a dance fitness class. Anything to do with dance is where you want to be if you're a guy looking for a woman. Women in dance classes tend to be single, and they tend to be in shape. Plus, a majority of people in dance classes tend to be female, because guys tend not to be interested in dance classes. So this tips the odds in your favor. Nightclubs and karaoke clubs are also good. Karaoke clubs better. The problem with nightclubs is the music is too loud, so it's hard to talk. Though not being able to hear conversation is probably good for most guys, many of whom can't do conversation. Also, there are more men than women at nightclubs. My strength is conversation, not looks. A nightclub is good if you look like Tom Cruise. Not ideal if you look like Woody Allen. You need to play to your strengths. A karaoke club is great because this is generally a non-threatening environment for women. People are just there to have fun and laugh. I met Wanda at a karaoke club. I noticed her the instant she walked in with her Korean female friend. I thought Wanda was stunning. She stood out from across the room even though she had not yet taken off her winter coat. So I figured I'd better make my approach quickly before other guys swoop in. So I made a beeline straight to where she and her friend were standing. And you always want to stay in the woman's view while you're approaching. You want to approach from the front, not swoop in from the side. And you definitely don't want to approach from the rear and tap her on the shoulder. Approach from the front where she can see you approaching. Both Wanda and her friend were very attractive, but Wanda was the standout. Again, the way you start a conversation with any stranger is to extend your hand to shake hands and say, "Hi, how are you? My name is Ben." Extending your hand to shake hands is a bit awkward at first, but you get over that. Extending your hand to shake hands is a standard greeting in the Western world. No sexual connotation whatsoever. It's also a display of confidence and good manners. I shake hands with them both and talk with them both equally, even though I'm most interested in Wanda. I ask them, "Can I buy you two a drink?" They both decline. "I'm good for now," or "No thanks," they would say. Wanda indicated no interest in me whatsoever. Less than zero interest. Her friend was friendlier and at least would talk. I wanted to get Wanda talking, but that was tough. I really couldn't get anything more than one-word responses from Wanda. So I talked with her friend, but tried to direct my conversation toward them both equally. Wanda was just listening, observing, and not saying anything. The way to keep conversations going is to ask questions. Ask, "Where are you from? Where did you grow up?" Wanda did not answer. I assumed Wanda was Korean because her friend was Korean. Her friend asked me what I did for a living. I said I'm in the advertising business. This generated a bit more interest. What are women who are single interested in? They're interested if the guy they're talking to has a job. Does he have a career? Because women are interested in security. Women want a guy who can potentially provide. They also like to be entertained. Is the guy interesting to talk to? I was getting along fine with Wanda's friend, but Wanda was still showing zero interest. She had not even taken off her winter coat yet. Now I didn't want to just hang around if I'm not wanted, just hang around like a fungus. And this conversation really didn't seem to be going anywhere. So I thought I would make a graceful exit. The way I decided to do this was to say, "I'm going to go to the bar and get a drink. Can I get a drink for you two? I'm buying." Since both rejected my first offer for drinks, I fully expected them to say no thanks. And that would be my exit line. If the conversation isn't going well, isn't going anywhere, I believe in cutting my losses and moving on. Now I saw some advice from another dating advice guru who said, "Do not accept no for an answer if rejected." No, I don't think so. That's just about the worst advice. Definitely take no for an answer and move on. And that's true for all salesmanship. If someone doesn't want to buy the Nordic track that you're selling, don't keep trying to sell a Nordic track to that person. Move on. Then Wanda surprised me by saying, "Sure, I'll have a Chardonnay." And her friend said she'd like a margarita. I was especially surprised that Wanda took me up on my drink offer, given that she'd said maybe 3 words to me all evening, and had expressed zero interest in talking to me. I was pleasantly surprised. I went to the bar, brought back the drinks, and the conversation continued. By this time, Wanda had taken her winter coat off and had hung it on the back of a chair. She was wearing this white dress. At this point, I'm thinking, whoa, yikes. I asked Wanda if she was also Korean. She said no and then asked me to guess where she's from. I said, well, you look like you might be Chinese. She said, that's a very good guess. My mom was Chinese, but I'm not from China. What nationality do you think my other half is? Well, it's always dangerous to guess these things, I said. And I'll probably be wrong. But if I have to guess, I'd say maybe Thailand. But you're taller than most Thai people, so I'm not sure. She said that's pretty close. I grew up in Laos. My dad was Laotian, my mom Chinese. Wanda was very vague about her story. I indicated that I knew something about Laos. Wanda was surprised I'd even heard of Laos. Most Americans haven't even heard of Laos, she said. Vientiane is the capital of Laos, I said. She was impressed I knew that. Another city in Laos is called Pak Se, I said. Her eyes lit up. I suddenly detected very different body language from Wanda. That's where I'm from, Wanda said. We lived just outside Pak Se. Our house overlooked the Mekong River. She became suddenly engaged in conversation. Women don't really care much about what you look like. What women want is a personal connection. Men are more about the looks. Women are about the relationship. Sure, women want the guy to be in shape, have good hygiene, dress well, which anyone can achieve. Other than that, they don't really care if you look like Clark Gable. In fact, if you look like Clark Gable, that could be a negative. The woman will then assume that you're a player and can't be trusted. But a woman does want a guy who's in shape and dresses well. Also doesn't smell bad. The fact that I knew something about Laos was striking gold with Wanda. I told her my dad had been a speechwriter for Richard Nixon during the Laotian Civil War. So the communist takeover of Laos in 1975 was a situation I was following very closely even as a teenager. She told me her family escaped from Laos after the communists took over. But she went into no detail. I tried to probe her for more information, but she just wasn't interested in sharing much detail. But she was very impressed that I knew quite a bit about Laos, and how more U.S. bombs were actually dropped on Laos than on Vietnam during the Vietnam War. And I knew quite a bit about how horrible this was for the Laotian people. Wanda was definitely much more conversational at that point. She started even laughing at my jokes. Now notice what happened here. The point of asking questions is to find areas of common interest, to find things that you have in common. Wanda's face and eyes lit up after she could see that I knew quite a bit about her home country. I also had at least some idea of what she must have gone through, though I had not yet scratched the surface of all she went through. If you're interested in the story of how Wanda escaped from the communists and made it to America, I linked to a video on that below. This is an amazing story. And Wanda's personal story is the big reason I fell in love with her. She's one of the toughest humans I know. So check out her story in the video I linked to below. And at one point in the conversation, we're kind of laughing and joking around, and she said, well, there's something about you I like, even though you're certainly no Brad Pitt in terms of looks. I like you, you make me laugh. And that's way more important than looks to me. That's what Wanda said. I definitely took that as a compliment, and I asked for her phone number. She declined. She says I never give out my phone number to a guy at a club, but she said, you give me your phone number if you want to. Okay, here it is, I said. Please give me a call. I'd love to take you out to dinner. I doubt I'll call you, said Wanda. Why not, I asked. You live too far from me, and I have a rule. What's the rule, I asked. I don't date anyone who lives more than 20 minutes from me. I said, I'll bet that if you call, I can get to wherever you are in less than 20 minutes, even if you're in France. Just call me, and you can time it. She laughed. I did not expect to hear from Wanda, but about 2 weeks later she phoned me. I told her I was very surprised she called. I asked her what made her call me after 2 weeks. She said, I don't know. I liked how you made me laugh, and I liked that you knew a lot about my home country, Laos. You know a lot about what went on there. So then I asked if I could take her out to dinner. And then she said, well, do you remember I have that 20-minute rule? I said, yeah, I remember that. And Wanda said, well, if you can be here in 20 minutes or less, we can have dinner. And if you can't make it here in 20 minutes, well, that's it. No dinner. If you can't make it in 20 minutes or less, I guess it's just not meant to be. I said, I'll be there in less than 20 minutes. I jumped in the car and drove like a maniac, hitting speeds of 90 miles an hour in some spots. Also, she did not want me to pick her up at her place. She said, we'll meet at the restaurant. I managed to get to the restaurant in 19 minutes. I passed the test. You made it in less than 20 minutes, said Wanda. I'm impressed. So what's the point of this story? Well, the point is people buy from those they know, like, and trust. You need to establish a level of trust before someone is going to buy something substantial from you. A date is a major commitment of time. It's also a big risk for a woman. She wants to know, are you a rapist, a stalker, some kind of psycho like Ted Bundy? Wanda actually had a big problem with the stalker, to a criminal level, where she had to get the police involved and get the stalker arrested. Had to get a restraining order against the stalker. This is a common problem for attractive women. So if you're a guy looking for a woman, I would not follow Coach Kyle's advice and run up to a random gorgeous woman who you see walking down the street and tell her how gorgeous she is. That's a red flag to a woman. Yeah, that might work occasionally if you look like Tom Cruise, but this is very low percentage. Probably won't even work for Tom Cruise. Guys still do this to Wanda all the time. Guys were doing this at the karaoke club the night we met. Those kind of lines go nowhere with her. When a guy would come up and try that, she would just turn her back and start talking to her friend. If the guy persisted, she would say, I'm here to hang out with my friend. I'm not here to meet guys. It's really just better to take a very casual and relaxed approach. Not threatening, not pushy. Show confidence, but not cockiness. Women do like guys who are confident, but not cocky and not pushy. Make her feel at ease, like there's no agenda, no rush. If the conversation goes well, and it ends up being a date at some point, great. If not, that's fine too. But commenting on a woman's appearance, even if you're saying how beautiful she is, that's terrible strategy in my view. Yet guys do this all the time. 99% of the time, that's the opening line guys use at nightclubs. They say, oh, you're so gorgeous, you're so beautiful. Good-looking women hear this all the time. It means nothing to them. These lines are like water running off a duck's back. When a woman hears lines like this, she thinks player. Most women don't want a player. The best opening line is always, hi, how are you? My name is Ben, or I'm Ben. And combine that with a handshake. The best follow-up line is, do you live in the local area? After that, where are you from originally? Or where did you grow up? What do you like to do for fun? Do you have kids? Do you like movies? What kind of movies do you like? Do you like music? What kind of music do you like? In this simple list of questions, you're almost sure to find something that you two have in common that you can talk about. Noticing something about her is often good, but nothing to do with her physical appearance. Something like, I really like that necklace you're wearing. Usually women wear necklaces. She's wearing that necklace because she thinks it looks good. If you tell a woman you like her necklace, you already have something in common. You have the same taste, at least for necklaces. So the art of starting and continuing a conversation is just saying hello and asking questions, and then listening. Then follow up with new questions based on what you just heard. It's also good, when appropriate, to agree with what she just said, and then to extend on the thought. Add something to her thought. That's how you show you have something in common, something to talk about. If you can do this, you're already a better conversationalist than 90% of the guys out there. Wanda says that if you are not text messaging photos of your penis to a woman that you've just met, you're already doing better than 10% of the men out there. When she told me that, I couldn't stop laughing. That's how clueless some guys are about what women are really looking for. They do not want to see a photo of your penis. Women are looking for guys who are not dangerous, violent psychos. And that's the minimum requirement that some guys just can't meet. Women also want to know if you have a decent career going, or at least a prospect for a decent career, at least on a path to a decent career, that you have some kind of career plan in mind. Your physical looks are way down the list of what's important to most women. Richard Nixon's Secretary of State, the late Henry Kissinger, was famous for dating beautiful women. Now look at Kissinger, not exactly Tarzan. And Henry Kissinger lived to be 100 years old. A woman, of course, wants you to be in decent physical shape. And they do like sharp dressers. If you dress well and look clean, not like a homeless person, this communicates some level of prosperity and that you probably have your act together, at least to some extent. In marketing and sales, packaging is important. People do judge a book by its cover. And women do notice how you're dressed. Mostly women want to know that you're not a dangerous psycho and that you have a good job or career. That's natural. Women want security. They want a protector. They are hardwired to want that. They don't want a deadbeat who can't hold a job. Women want a bright future, and that's fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you also don't want to marry a gold digger and a woman who is only about money or mostly about money. You definitely don't want to marry a woman who is a spendaholic like my ex-wife, who is all about appearances, keeping up with the Joneses, and impressing our rich circle of friends. You definitely don't want that. My video on my horrific 2005 divorce from my ex is linked below. What sold me on Wanda is how she stuck with me even when I was dead broke and in jail in 2006. That told me that Wanda is the woman for me. And that incredible story is also linked below. Wanda's a saver, a penny pincher, a coupon collector. She yells at me when she thinks I'm spending too much money. That's the kind of woman you want. And I'll be talking about how to find that kind of woman in future videos, because this is a super important topic, vital to your financial survival and happiness. The Bible says a man is not meant to be alone. And it is true that when an elderly spouse dies, the other spouse often passes soon afterwards. So yes, you want to find the right woman. And if you're a woman, you want to find the right man. Thank God I found the right woman the second time around with Wanda. We've been married now since 2006. But okay, let's just say, as a game, I decide to follow Coach Kyle's strategy. Or let's say I was still single and were to do as Coach Kyle suggests, which is to try to meet a gorgeous female stranger who I see walking down the street. How would I do it? Well, I would not do it by commenting on her appearance. I wouldn't say anything like, "Your stunning beauty caught my eye," or "I love the way you look, so I had to come up and say hello." No, I wouldn't do anything like that. She hears that all the time. I would start by asking for directions. People love to give advice, and people like to be helpful. So let's say I spot her walking down the sidewalk in my direction. What would I do? Well, I would stare at my phone screen while watching her approach out of the corner of my eye, and I'd be looking a bit confused. Perhaps I'd be scratching my head like this. I'd be doing something like this. I'd be doing this. And as she approached, but before she walks past me, I would say, "Excuse me, I think I'm lost. Can you point me in the direction of Rockefeller Center?" That's a completely non-threatening way to start a conversation. You're not asking for any commitment, you're just asking for a little help. She will almost certainly stop and point you in the right direction. Then I might say, "Do you happen to know any good restaurants nearby?" She might then ask, "What kind of a restaurant are you looking for?" I would then say, "Well, it could be almost anything. Maybe sushi, Thai food, an Irish pub, almost anything that kind of signifies New York City, not a national chain." And she might say, "Well, yeah, there's a great Thai place about a block from here." And then she'd probably give me directions on how to get there. "Fantastic," I'd say. Then I might say, "Hey, that's a really nice necklace you're wearing." It's good to notice something about the female you are talking to and then comment on it. Nothing about her physical appearance. Commenting on an accessory she's wearing is good. Necklace is best if she's wearing one. She would likely say thank you. Then I might ask, "Where did you get this necklace?" "I think I'd like to get a necklace like this from my mom." That line tells her, "You're a good guy. You're looking to buy a necklace for your mom, not your wife, not your girlfriend." So that also tells her you're single. Noticing a woman's necklace is often a great idea. Says you're looking at her, noticing things about her, but not in a pushy sexual way. Do not comment on her body, for example. You could say, "I like your smile." That'd be okay. After listening to her answer, and if the conversation seems to be going well, I then might say, "Hey, if you're hungry, I'd love to have your company for lunch. Want to join me for lunch at the Thai place you just recommended?" 50-50, she'll say yes at that point. That's how I would approach meeting a gorgeous female stranger on a busy street in Manhattan if that were something I was interested in doing. And maybe I will try this challenge with Wanda filming just to see if I can do it. That might make a good video. Oh, and I also have a book out titled Win Life: Success Skills Schools Don't Teach. This book is aimed primarily at young people in their late teens and 20s who are just getting launched into adulthood and are trying to figure out their career or their path in life. But this book contains just about everything I know about how to succeed in life. So check it out. It's available on Amazon in all the formats. And I link to it below. Can you go back up?
Wow. Stick one leg up straight. Wow.